also, going back to the conversation with Bilal and Rola, I mean, I had to, being someone who's new to this kind of research, having never done it before,
sure.
and then adding on top of the layer of doing it in a different culture with different social expectations of how people interact, and walking into another environment, a school environment where there are all these other dynamics that I may kind of understand after having been here for a short time, but not fully understand. You can't, right? You can't see the hidden culture of it. It's helped me to reflect as a researcher what I would do differently and what's worked really well for me. Like what kinds of things, or how I would interact with people that I would meet, or that I would interview, or that I would observe. Because my first inclination is, and my comfort zone is as a teacher, right? So, and a colleague, and as someone who wants to collaborate and get in there, right? And show support for what I think looks really great. On the other hand, as a researcher, I need to be.
You've got to have a.
Yeah, I've got to be
have a
distance.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really helpful actually to. And it hadn't occurred to me the way in which people would see me and what I was doing here as not what I had thought that I was portraying to people, and was and was saying in the interviews, and was saying when I spoke in the public fora, partly because we go through this. And I really emphasize the confidentiality, and I emphasize that, this is so that I can collect data and the school can understand how to support you. As we move to the MYP and to help you reflect on your experiences and what you need to teach critical thinking better. So I think that talking about that as being so anonymous, which maybe is not something that they're as used to, and that this is all like residing off campus. It sounds like that gave people the impression that I was someplace that they felt like they could go and complain. And when I heard that, I emailed my dissertation advisor. And so this is me like speaking as you as someone who's gone through this dissertation process already, and and I said, geez, I'm really worried. This is not what I thought. This is not my intention, but I did want to give. I did think that it was important that they receive some feedback, and I think that I've crossed a line. I've somehow offended them. Like I didn't really know, and I think talking with them, it made a lot more sense today. It really kind of like I understood the situation much better. But she said, well, this is totally normal. That for a researcher going into any organization, this is always what happens. And she's like, and man, I could tell you some stories of the things that people have said to me, and that your job as a researcher is to, step back, look at all the information you have, put it into context, and not, you don't ever just like take one thing that one person says. As the honest truth. You're looking for patterns, right? You're looking for consistent, you're looking for corroboration. And is it happening over here in the survey? Am I hearing it like 5 or 6 times? Am I hearing it from a certain type of teacher, right? Or someone who's been here for a certain amount of time, or comes from a particular background? And how far along are they? Are they in the PYP? Are they in the MYP? Are they in the Maharat? Are they teaching in English? All these different things. Like you kind of look at that, and I also don't know the background for each teacher. Like is this a teacher that, let's say, Cheza has been having an issue with? Like, I don't know that. All I know is what they tell me when I interview them. Because, I'm not, this isn't about personnel, right, for me.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
This is just
Yeah.
me hearing.
And you wouldn't take the time to find out about those things because that's not relevant.
That's not relevant to the research.
Right.
But they're going to reflect to me as I'm asking them how they can be, what kind of professional training, professional development training they would like to have, and what kind of professional training have they already had in working on critical thinking skills. How does this fit into? They're just gonna they're gonna talk about those kind of things. They're and some of them will then take that as an opportunity to speak about these other concerns that they have, like they feel overworked or they feel whatever.
Everybody feels overworked.
Right, and again, this is so much like my school.
In this school.
Yeah, this is so much like my school. We were so much of this has resonated in many ways. But I don't think that we I think that we work really hard at my school, but I don't think we have thought as deeply about what we're doing and why we're doing it. We have a long way to go in my school compared to here, I would say. And my school is considered to be one of the top girls' schools in all of the United States. It's the oldest girls' school on the West Coast. It's in terms of the demographics of the student body, it's the old money of Los Angeles and some new money. We have some movie money. It's mostly more like writers, heads of studios, people like that. It's not so much the celebrity kids, although they do come too. They tend to go to some of the other schools that are a little more artsy. But we've been a super traditional school for a very long time. And we have, we're going through this process now of trying to rediscover who we are and reflecting on what we do and why we do it, and moving towards, I would say, more collaborative, more student-centered approach. And that has not been our model. We've been really AP heavy. We've been very traditional, like a lot of lecture, and that served our students really well in the college admission process. But it has downsides, and we're thinking about how we really want to now make sure that our students are prepared for what they're really going to be encountering and what are the skills that they need. And so I've always been someone who's, if I were to be really self-congratulatory, I would say that there's a little bit of a mini-me of Amna Shah in me and my kind of approach, and probably a little bit.
So. Having talked with you, I would have expected.
And I would also say probably, I would hope, I would wish for myself a little bit of a mini-me of you. The combination of the two of you, in terms of, how I kind of approach things, how I kind of think about things, how things connect. The connections that you've made here make sense to me because they're ones that resonate with me.
I want to tell you, when she first came, as she described to you, how she used to be in her old school. She used to tell us stories about, I used to stand up on the second floor and shout all the way across and everybody would run away.
Yeah. Everyone was scared of me.
And that was great. Over the years, she changed totally. And she says she started her professional career here, not there, where she was 20 years a principal, a very famous principal, actually. But when she first came, she was very traditional in her approach. And I kept saying to her, but what does that connect to? How does that connect to life? How does that connect? How do these two things connect? And she kept saying, you're always talking about connection. I said, yeah, you've got to look at the connection. She took that idea, as you can see, and